Jesus could not trust the hypocrisy of the Pharisees to comfort him. He could no longer lean on the words of the disciples who could not clearly identify him or his power. They couldn't even follow simple instructions. Watch this. In the eschatological discourse in Mark 13, Jesus repeatedly commands and warns his disciples to watch and be alert. What do? Again in the garden, he commands them to sit and pray. Watch, be alert. He confesses to them his supreme sorrow and pain. My soul is swallowed up in sorrow, to the point of death. Remain here and stay awake. They completely ignored this cathartic experience and allowed the flesh to win. They fell asleep. You would fall asleep on Jesus. What Jesus does next is profound. He goes behind the very bushes of the Garden of Gethsemane, drops down to his knees, and prays for mercy from Golgotha. Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. This is a desperate plea through the realization of the cross and the true cost of the suffering of the righteous servant. He pleads with God to take this cup of pain, humiliation, suffering, and loneliness away. But in a glimpse of hope for humanity, in the brazen boldness and authority of Jesus Christ, he declares that God's will shall be done. He returns to find his disciples sleeping. He chastises them and declares, couldn't you stay awake for 1 hour? Stay awake and pray so that you won't enter into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Now listen to what Jesus is saying. He's telling them that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Why would he say this? This is where Jesus is following his own advice and trying to give it to his disciples. He said, I was in anguish. I had to pray about what I was going through. I was suffering. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I had to understand that God's will was the best for me. And I'm telling you, like I had to tell myself, that you have to pray, you have to stay up, because the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. It is amazing to see the parallel between the disciples' sleepiness and disobedience and Christ's strength and obedience, proving that with Christ all things are possible. Yet they failed him again. Through all Peter's talk of loyalty, Judas's backhanded betrayal, and the weak eyelids, if you will, of the disciples, this convinces Jesus that only his faith and obedience in the Father will see him through. Are you still sleeping and resting? Enough. Enough. If we are still sleeping and resting, enough. The time has come. Look, the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let's go. My betrayer is near. In a bold move here that would rival witch casting in the Sundance Kid, in my opinion, Jesus confronts his destiny. He boldly, through the submission of prayer and obedience, he accepts the way that John the Baptist prepared for him. Jesus is now the voice crying out in the garden, making his way straight to Calvary. He is without friends, without family, and ultimately on the cross without God. My God, why have you forsaken me? But he fought on and did not waver or bend. Aren't you glad to know that although humanity can waver and bend, that we can be double-minded and conflicted, Christ always remains faithful. Why? Wouldn't any human being break under the pressure of being lonely, misunderstood, demonically sought after, lied on, lied to, talked about, abused, misused? Wouldn't any human just give up? The answer is yes. The only problem with it, Jesus is not just any human. He went through the trials saying, nevermore. He suffered on Calvary saying, nevermore. He was humiliated and accepted evil saying, nevermore. He suffered alone by himself, saying, nevermore. He died a sinner's wretched death, our vile, disgusting death, declaring, nevermore. But early, one Sunday morning, he rose with all power and authority in his hands, declaring, nevermore. In Genesis, we see the desolation of paradise. Adam and Eve sinned by eating the fruit with the knowledge of good and evil and are cast out of the garden of Eden. Walk with me. It is so profound that Jesus must accept the knowledge of good and evil in his prayer and meditation and consciousness of suffering in the Garden of Gethsemane. What Adam destroyed, Jesus must restore in the garden. Jesus is purifying paradise. He is being obedient as the second Adam and leaving the garden not by punishment, but with power. It is foolish for Christians to see suffering only in the cross. It is scattered among the life of Jesus. We today must understand, like Jesus said, with no test, there is no testimony. With no pain, there's no power. With no struggle, there's no strength. With no sacrifice, there is no paradise. With no tears, there is no one to wipe them away. With no frown, there's no one to turn it upside down. Come on, somebody. With no calamity, there is no celebration. How, you say? How do you know this, JC? I know it because it is possible. Why is it possible? Because Christ made it possible. He is the perfect example for us right now, today. We can defeat persecution. We can reject temptation. And we can demand Satan to flee. We can be faithful. We can be honest. We can be steadfast. We can stand strong and bold in the power of God, saying, nevermore. God bless you.